Show me some emotion, man.
My emotion's in my smile.
Okay. What's up, my friends? Welcome to Christian Podcast Live from Costa Mesa, California. My name is BETOGUDINO, and today we are broadcasting live, like I said, from what is this? Moon Goat. I almost said the wrong coffee shop. No, this is called Moon Goat Coffee Roasters in Costa Mesa, California. I love this place. And my friend Dan Barrett got me the matcha latte. This is a matcha latte, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much, man.
With oat milk.
So good. All right, today we're going to have an amazing conversation with Dan Barrett. I'll introduce him to you guys, and he's got an epic story. By the end of the show, the goal is to be crying with violin music in the background. That's like the purpose of this episode, and hopefully that means that you've been inspired, right? We have emojis in our show. Inspired to action. Inspired maybe to talk to your kids about how to give, how to become givers. Inspired maybe about becoming yourself a giver in many different ways. It could be through Kids Give to Kids, which we're going to talk about what it is. But it could be just through being a generous person. And I think, Dan, in the story that you have is so epic that I think we're going to be inspired. We're going to learn a little bit of your background, your story. But first of all, let's just start right here, Dan. Like, introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, maybe what you do.
Well, thank you, Beto, for even, offering to do this. This is amazing. I love what you do. I've seen some of your podcasts. I love the inspiration that you flow into it. I love the love, the compassion, the empathy. My name is Daniel Barrett. I'm the founder of Kids Give to Kids, and I'm here to hopefully inspire you, but definitely to inspire kids to change the world.
Wow. That already sounds like an epic goal to have. Inspire kids to change the world. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story with the podcast. So when I started, I was one of my very first episodes I ever had was with a woman that helps kids in the foster care system, foster care youth. And I was just kind of curious, like I came to America, I'm from Mexico, and I had a little bit of background in helping kids in the streets in Mexico because it's a different scenario than that we find here in America. But I think there's still something in my heart that is like, wow, the same way that we help kids there, there's still a way to give and be generous and kind to people, but we're under a different system, right? And I think the foster care system has like its own, like good and bad, right? And you come out of that system. So talking to this woman back in the, one of my first episodes, it was just like eye-opening to understand a little bit of the background of what it means to even be a foster care youth and the challenges that they face, which are extreme, I would say, to say the least, extreme. But then getting to know you invited me and my wife to one of your fundraisers like a month ago, right? Like not too long ago. And just hearing like the backstory of what you are doing now, it was just like epic. It was like a journey, like a story that I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe you went through that. But can you introduce us like really quick? Like what's your background? How are you related to the foster care system or foster care youth? Like what that meant for you growing up?
So basically, when you become a ward of the court, that means that, you're taken away from your father or your mother or both parents because the situation that you're in is unfit or it's just not ideal for any kid to be raised in. And so at age 7, I literally was taken, my brother and my sister was taken from my mother, and we were placed in multiple foster care units or homes. And really, just on a short note right now, I'm sure we'll get into some more later, but, when you're in that situation, you feel like you're thrown away. You feel like you're not loved. You feel like you're abandoned. You feel like, you're a lost soul. And when you live in that world, you kind of build up your walls to protect yourself. And when you do that, you, as an adult, if you don't deal with those situations, you're living an unbalanced life. So everything that we're going to be talking about today is the structure of my kid, as my life as a kid in the foster care and group home system, and then back with my single mother, which actually in some cases was worse than the foster care, because you feel like when you're with your parent, that's your mom. She should love you in a way that is unconditional and should be, an amazing, it just should be a great experience. But in my case, we were just a paycheck, we were just a way that my mom can game the system. But we'll get into that too. But bottom line is, what we're doing is very psychological. It's not just about giving a toy away. It's about giving kids choice and allowing kids to become givers, which literally in this world right now is not happening on a consistent basis. There is no program like our program on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm. Kids Give to Kids.
Kids Give to Kids, which is the nonprofit, and K-Spire, which is the fulfillment center. So when you go to kspire.com, which is KSPIRE.com, that's where you can actually see the store. That's where you can actually pick the toys. It's just like going onto Amazon and shopping, but it's free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. And you were saying when we were at the fundraiser, you were talking about kind of like the heart behind why Kids Give to Kids, like why collecting toys from kids to give to other kids. And you were saying something like when you were in the, I think it was called, before it was called Orangewood, the foster, what is that? I mean, is that like an orphanage? What is that?
Orangewood is like a home for kids that are in transition of going into foster care or, primarily going back to their parents. It's like a in between. It's like a halfway house for kids. But back when I was in that home, it was called Albert Sutton Home. And I mean, I learned some great things in that home, and I've applied them to this program. And as we go, you can probably ask me about the different stories, and we'll take it from there and see where we go.
Well, I like the one where you were saying something about you would get like all kinds of gifts or toys.
Okay, so
that.
What they had was a program when you made your bed or swept your room or picked up trash or washed the dishes or whatever you did, you earned points, right? And so you had a little book that a stamp would be able to stamp this book, like a little passport book, and you earn these points. And then they had a little store that you can go turn your points into actual toys. And the store was the size of maybe a walk-in closet, and it was full of toys. I mean, it probably had about $5,000 to $10,000 worth of toys in it. But what I did is I found the stamp. So I found the stamp, and I just literally just stamped my book as if I were like a lifer, like I lived there the whole time, and it's been 20 years, and I've earned all these points. And so I went to go use my points, and there's just no way that any kid in history could have earned this many points. It's impossible, Yeah,
it's a rigged program.
Well,
pretty much, no
way. There's just no way that I could have earned that many points. But they didn't stop me. And I probably collected I mean, if I were to go to Target and get the toys that I got from Target, I would have spent like $2,000.
Wow.
And they never stopped me. And my brother, I told him, I go, why do you think they never stopped me? Because I wrote a book called Not Loving Yourself is the Biggest Disease on the Planet. And I wrote 75% of that book in 8 days, which is unusual, of course. But the quote for the book is, it's easy to write a book when God is holding the pen in your hand. So that book saved my life. But as I was writing that book, I confronted my brother about that story. And I said, why do you think that they allowed me to do that? And he goes, Daniel, I think that they saw a kid that was an introvert in front of their very eyes becoming an extrovert. And they didn't know what you were going to do with those toys, but they knew you were going to do something, so they allowed you to do it. And so what I ended up doing is literally taking all these toys, putting them in my room, creating little VIP cards. Now, understand, I'm 10 years old at this point.
Wow.
Creating little VIP cards for all the kids that are in the group home and saying, hey, here's your card. Come and check out a toy. Play with it. By choice, put it back. Give me that card back and bring the toy back, and we give you the card. And so literally these kids that didn't have enough points or didn't earn enough points and didn't have that much was able to come in and check out games and Legos and remote control car and whatever that I got, they got to check it out and use it.
Wow.
It was just, at 10 years old, I just thought that was something to do.
Yeah. And so that's almost like if I would say what kids give to kids, it's almost like that is the starting point. Like that, it was already in your mind. And it's counterintuitive because you would think, here's all these toys for myself. I'm going to find out a way to, just like spend all my time. No, like I think of my kids, right? Like nowadays people kids, right? Or parents give toys to their kids for Christmas. And it's almost like, the more gifts that I can get, but you don't even have enough time to play with so many toys, right? So what if you start thinking, hey, what if maybe the toys are not all for yourself? So that's really interesting that you had that perspective in life that, hey, maybe these toys are not just so much for me. Like, can you pinpoint what made you think of other people other than just say, oh, all these kids, all these toys are now for me, ha ha ha, right? No, you were generous.
So writing this book, I wrote the book, and as I'm writing this book, I'm just regurgitating my life. I'm just getting I'm breaking down the walls. I'm just telling all the little stories that I never told to anybody. I mean, so many of my friends never even knew I was in foster care system because I never spoke about it, And that's the thing. These kids that are going through that situation, a lot of them don't talk about it. And there's two reasons I think why they don't. One is they're ashamed. They think it's their fault. When you're at that young age and you're being pried from your mother or father, you start thinking that it's your fault. So that's one reason. The second reason is we don't really believe in sympathy. We think sympathy is a lie. We think that it's not true. We think it's false, So we don't want to hear your sympathy. We just want to tell our story, or we don't want to tell our story. But either way, when we do, we don't want sympathy for it, We want genuine.
So I like the walls you're saying that you were building, right?
Well, so the walls I built up protected myself from everything. But the problem is when you build walls like that, then you're emotionally damaged. You don't use the words "I love you." You don't understand the true meaning of compassion. You truly don't understand the word empathy and what the meaning is. Because when I wrote my book, I had to look up that word just to really understand the meaning. Because we just don't have that empathy for people because we lived through a bad situation and we survived it. So why should we have empathy for others, right? Mm-hmm. But every situation is different, and some are worse than others. When I look back on my life, it's nothing compared to some of these stories that I've heard of people and what they've gone through, and it's just unbelievable what they go through. So when I'm writing this book, I'm like realizing that, God has been in my whole life the whole time. I just never knew it. He was gearing towards every aspect. So go back like 4 years, and for 5 years I was collecting toys for Tots, and I was putting out 100 boxes all over Orange County. I was the only individual person that they would give 100 boxes to collect toys, and I would go and lay them all over Orange County, collect toys, and we would have two events. One event would be to kind of like have the Marines come, and we would feed them, and we would give them all the toys that we collected around the 10th or the 11th of December. But we would still have hundreds of boxes out, 100 boxes out all over Orange County for like 2 weeks. So on December 24th, Denny's off Harbor in the 405 freeway in Costa Mesa would allow us to use their back parking lot. And then we would promote two truly less fortunate families that really needed help in, getting toys. And we would lay out thousands of toys where these kids could pick these toys. And what was a ha-ha moment for me was like, 25% of these real, true, less fortunate families, I mean, they were really struggling, 25% of them actually went to Denny's and they ate as a family because the money they saved and not having to buy toys. And trust me, the toys that they got were far beyond the toys they would have been able to purchase in the first place, And so that was a unthinkable ha-ha moment. And then coming to where we are now, where kids can actually take their used toys that they no longer play with, upload them to the website where other kids can go and choose those toys for free. Then we have local restaurants that are pick-up drop-offs. When a kid picks up a toy or drops off a toy, they both earn a free kids meal. But also kids can go pick brand new toys for free, play with them by choice, put them back up as a used toy, and possibly become a giver for the first time in their lives at age 3, 4, 5 years old.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying basically, I mean, the big word I'm hearing right now is empathy. So I feel like out of empathy for the other kids' stories, right? Like growing up, knowing your own story, but like you said, you knew of other people that had even harder stories. And then the empathy to say, I mean, when I think of a toy, really the idea behind that is, can this toy bring you some joy and maybe help you overcome the hardship or the struggle? I mean, I think that's kind of like the heart behind it, no? Like
so I want to be a little bit more in depth. So I think the toy is just the vehicle. Okay, that's great. Where we're missing in our society right now, what we're missing is most kids, fortunate or less fortunate, doesn't matter, they don't have choice. So 95% of all nonprofit out there that help these kids, which thank God for them and we need them all, they only push toys to kids and the kids accept them based on the fact that it's better than nothing. But it's still, they're not getting choice. They're just going, oh, I'm a less fortunate child, so I'm just going to take this because it's better than nothing. And you got your parents saying the same thing. You got people saying the same thing. So these kids are being branded less fortunate, being branded fortunate, being branded in whatever ways they're branded. And I don't believe that's fair. I believe that the situation that they're in can be branded, but the kid themselves shouldn't be branded. So what if we have a kid that starts learning how to give at age 3 years old? And what better feeling is it to give versus to receive? And these kids, I mean, just if we were just to split it evenly, 50% of our population as kids don't experience how to give until they're older. So they don't experience that euphoria of that unbelievable feeling. And it's different for each of them because it's just a different feeling. But they're not feeling it because they don't get the opportunity to do it. And even kids that are fortunate, they don't get really the choice to choose to give. They get told to give. All right, you got some new toys coming in. Take your toys. We're going to put it in a bag. We're taking it to Goodwill. There's no learning curve whatsoever. With our program, the kids get to upload the toy. They fill out the form. The parents decide where they want to drop off the toy once it's chosen. The kid can see their toy in the store with their name underneath as the donor, all right? Then the toy stays at the house. Once the toy is chosen, then they get a notification to go drop it off. Let's say it's at Dunkin' Donuts. And they go to Dunkin' Donuts and they drop it off and they let us know that it's dropped off and the kid gets a free donut. And then a notification goes to that family to go pick up the toy and that kid gets a free donut. It's equality. But now the kid that gave that toy away feels better because they know that their toy was chosen. And not just thrown away or put in the trash or put in a bag. Because these kids, they feel like they own these toys because it's the only thing they feel they own. So when you take their toys, they're going to cry even if they play with them or not because they feel it's theirs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I love that because, okay, so you're saying our society needs more empathy, needs to learn to become givers because it's better to give than to receive. And what you're saying is not so much about the toy. It's about that your program allows for the kid, for one kid to choose, but it also allows for a kid to give, right? So, I mean, to me...
Based on choice.
And I feel like right there you're talking... I mean, to me, it seems like you're talking about kingdom of God, right? And I've no, I've talked on this podcast again and again that to me the kingdom of God is relationships. And I think through this program, you're allowing, maybe without even kids knowing you're allowing them that freedom and that joy that can only come when you become a giver, like an authentic giver.
Yes.
Right?
By choice. That means that they chose. That means that they're coming up to you. You're not telling them to give. They're coming to you and saying, Daddy, Mommy, can I give some of my toys to K-Spire so other kids can go and choose those toys? How is that going to make you feel as a parent?
Yeah.
That they're doing that, and you're not having to ask them to do it. One of my slogans is, the gift is giving, not the toy. The gift is giving. To be able to give is a gift. To be able to have that feeling of giving when God gave his life to us and gave us, complete life forever based on the fact that he gave his only son for our sins. We don't really understand that because it's just so profound. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so we can accept it because we're told that that's the case. You know what I mean? But God gave his son for us to live forever. I mean, put that into perspective of giving. I mean, even Jesus, that wasn't his choice. He's like, is there any other way? I mean, do we have to do it this way? And God's like, yes, we have to do it this way. You know what I mean? But because of that, we're forever saved as long as we accept him into our heart and we ask for forgiveness, So these kids, if they learn how to give at age 3, 4, or 5 years old, are they going to become better adults? Are they going to not follow in the footsteps that their parents took by gaming the system or whatever the case may be? Because I'm not putting down parents, okay? But there's situations that could be better. But there isn't programs out there to make them better. I think most of the programs out there in the world that are helping kids or teenagers are like reprogrammers. They're reprograms, if that makes sense. So it's a kid that's already completely broken, went down the wrong road. Maybe they ended up on drugs. Maybe they were attempted suicide. Maybe they are coming out of jail at a young age. So they're going into these programs to reprogram themselves, right? To be a better person in society, right? But where's the programs that teach these kids at age 3, 4, 5 years old? There's nothing. There's the Boys Girls Clubs. There's the YMCAs. There's the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And that's great, and that helps, I'm sure. But not every kid can afford that. Not every kid is in a position to go to those situations,
Yeah. Okay, so I have right now 2 questions that I want to get from you, or 2 answers, I would say. One is kind of like, what does this look like? I mean, is this a local thing? Is it Orange County? Do you plan to expand? Like, what have you witnessed in terms? Because I was at the fundraiser, and it was so cool to see so many people vouching in and saying, hey, I want to support if it's for the kids, it was amazing. Even people of other, I'm just going to use the word, maybe other religions, right? Or other ethnic backgrounds even. So it was so cool. And I think, you're unapologetic about, your whole like relationship with God in all of this, and where you have seen him and witnessed him moving through this. So, what is your vision as far as it is for Kids Give to Kids? Like, do you care, or do you care how big it gets? Do you have a goal, a dream? What is it?
So obviously, I want to be straight up. This is a God-driven company. There's no way that I would be where I'm at, and there's stories I can tell that would clarify that, and you would see that there is nothing but truth. That there's no way I would be where I'm at or where I'm going without God. First off. Second off is, this isn't about religion, just like you said. It's about the kids. But saying that, I do talk about God a lot with people, and they always tell me, are you religious? And I go, no. And they go, oh, you're a Christian. And I go, no. And they go, well, what are you talking about? I have a personal relationship with God. I have a really strong, faith-bound, trust-bound relationship with God. And they go, but that's Christianity. And I go, well, listen, you could debate religion, you can debate Christianity, but you can never, ever debate my relationship with God. Never. You won't stand a chance. And with that said, this program is as far as God's going to take us, which I'm sure God has great plans for what we're doing. One of the things we are right now is just Orange County based. But once we build the app, which is what we're working on now, we'll be able to open up into different counties and different states. One of my biggest goals is to get these kids that are aging out of the foster care system, because they have unbelievable stories to tell, to become a part of our program where they open up their little city or they open up their little county, and they are the representative of that location, because they need to sign up restaurants to be the pickup and drop off locations, and they can earn, money by doing that, but at the same time they can help their community, and at even a bigger situation they can tell their story. I think it's unlimited, as long as there's kids, restaurants, and toys. I think that we can do it anywhere in the world. But right now I would love to do the United States, and I would love this it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't even matter if you know God. What matters is that we're putting together a project that will help kids, because when we do that, they're going to see God in it. They're going to understand that this is God-driven. They're going to know that God's getting all the glory when I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm starting to go and do talk shows and radio shows, that the glory goes to God. I'm just a servant for him. It took me 48 years to realize what my purpose in this world was, but I promise you that there's no way from the day I was born to where I am now that God wasn't planning this project for me the whole time.
Yeah, the story is epic. Like you were saying in the fundraiser, a little bit of kind of like the hard stories, and you were introducing people in the audience that were related in very specific moments of your story that had almost like an epic influence, and that they were almost like you were saying at the beginning, like when you look back, like you've seen God throughout the journey, right? And maybe in the moment you didn't necessarily see, okay, this is God working through this person or whatever, but it's when you look back, and I think you have a heart of gratitude and appreciation for the people that have been there. And so anyways, I mean, this is what I want to say first. In as far as how big this can get, I think I applaud you to have this vision, and even to say, this will be a United States thing, and I was talking in one of my previous episodes with this woman who became a worker for the president, and she kind of grew up kind of like I don't know if it was like foster care, but in a harsh upbringing. And what I love that she said is she was telling people that she encounters to inspire them. She says, where you come from doesn't need to be where you end up, right? And I think you're an exemplification of that, exactly that, and that's where I feel like, man, this thing is not so much like you're starting it, and because you started it's gonna get big or whatever, but I think it's because of the right heart that this can get big. And like you're saying, like nobody else is doing what you're doing and the way you are doing it, and focusing more on the gift is given, right, rather than the gift itself. So that's genius already. I think has something. So in terms of the story, some people were in this audience at the fundraiser, and you were saying, man, I mean, I forgot the names because I'm bad with names, but you said, you helped me clean up my room, and you went in there and there were fleas and there were like all kinds of, I don't know if he even said roaches and things like that. And you helped me. Like people were there for you in moments where I mean, you could have it could have gone awry, right? In moments where
Well, it
maybe
was
you could have been
already awry.
depressed.
I
Right?
was so unbelievably broken. Okay, I was okay. So I was so broken that I had the pills in my hand that I could have swallowed and ended my life. That's how broken I was. And I was in my car and I was just crying and I was just praying. I was just saying, God, take me away from here. I'm done. I'm done. I don't know my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. Why am I here? You know, I was living a life that wasn't bad. You know, I never took drugs and I never touched alcohol in my life. I mean, there might have been times when I thought about suicide, but I never was at that point where I had the pills in my hand. And I was probably in my car for 2 hours plus, just crying and crying and crying. And I don't know exactly. When you're at that point, you're not thinking rationally. You're not thinking at all. You just shut down. And when you shut down like that, there's no care. You don't care. You don't care about who you're going to hurt. You don't care about anything. There was one thought that went through my head. And I know that it was probably God that put this thought through my head. I believe that God gave me an exceptional mind. The things that I've done in my life and the stories I can tell you on the things that I've done in my life most people would be like, wow, you know? And so he put this thought I believe it was him that put this thought in my head where if you attempt this, you're going to fail. And you're not only going to fail, but you're going to damage that beautiful brain that I gave you. And so I ended up committing myself into Hoag Hospital. And the first day that I was in Hoag, I started just writing. Just writing. Then I got transferred to another facility, and I just was reading what I was writing. And then everybody that commits themselves, in most cases, is on an automatic 72-hour hold. It's just automatic, okay? And at that facility, I ended up speaking to the psychologist, the doctor, and I looked him right in the eyes and I said, okay, I don't belong here. And I told him what happened, and he goes, nope, you don't belong here. So I'm going to release you tomorrow. So they released me. It was less than 48 hours. But what I'm getting at is now in my life, things still happen that are bad. Some of them are self-inflicted. Some of them are just bad decisions. But they happen. And it's bad situations. Sometimes it's just someone that does bad to you. But no longer do I look at it as being bad anymore. I look at it like, okay, that one hurt. That was an owie. But now, every single time, I look for the good that comes from that bad.
Wow.
Every single time. And it may take a day. It might take a week. It might take a month. There's no time frame because it's God's time, not your time. But when it does happen, I know without a doubt in my mind that wouldn't be happening at that very moment if it wasn't for the situation that was bad that happened. To give you a story of exactly what I'm talking about, and I didn't tell this story at the fundraiser, is I was doing I believe my third fundraiser, my third toy drive, live toy drive for Kids Give to Kids. My second. I did not have the app built yet because the person that was supposed to build the app wasn't able to do it. Okay. So I had no app. I have no way of distributing these toys. I had no way of doing what my mind had already figured out a way to do it because I didn't have the process of doing it. So I ended up doing an event, and I partnered with a big building that I'm not going to say names, but they were hosting a big, holiday party, and so I partnered with them. And we probably had thousands and thousands. We probably had over $7,000 worth of toys that were donated to us because I had a lot of our locations bring toys to us. and come to the event, you know. And during that time, I had people that were starting to say, "Oh, you're a scam artist. You're just collecting toys," you know. And so there was this one person in particular. I don't know who it was. I still don't know. I kind of know who it was, but I've never been able to talk to him or confront him. But I think he got into the ears of these people that were helping me run the event. So the next day, I told him, I go, let's leave the toys here and I'll pick them up the next day. And I go to pick them up the next day and they wouldn't give me the toys. They took all my toys.
Wow.
And they were calling me a scammer. They're saying I'm the biggest scam artist of all of Orange County. And it hurt my heart because, I mean, I had nothing more than what I wanted to do than what I had in my mind. It's just the people that I counted on weren't allowing me to do so. At that time, I didn't have my 501c3. I was piggybacking on another 501c, which is called an incubator. And so I was using their 501c3 to do what I was doing and to collect the toys and so on and so forth. And so this place didn't give me my toys, contacted that incubator and told them that I was the big scam artist. And all this thing was just crashing down on me. The app wasn't being done. I was now becoming, you know, the laughingstock of Orange County based on people just spreading complete lies and rumors about me. So that's the bad, right? That's horrible. I mean, that's just like, you know, breaking your back. And that's just a small story. There's so many other stories that most human beings would have quit what I was doing and be done with it. But what happened is on that, so that party was December like 10th or 11th, right? So on December 24th, I laid out thousands and thousands of toys at the Anaheim Business Expo Center my friend owned. And we had probably over 300 plus families come to that location and actually pick their own toys for free. And they got to pick 7 toys. They got to pick 2 of the really nice toys, and then they got to pick 5 toys from this massive amount of pile of toys. And so that's one thing that came from that bad, right? The second thing that came from that bad is I built our website. I had no clue how to build a website. I had zero clue how to build a website, but I knew what it needed to do. So I took a GoDaddy website template and I manipulated it to do what we're doing now. Okay.
Wow.
So that's the second thing. The third thing is I applied for my 501c3. In less than a year, I got approved, which is unheard of. The fourth thing that happened is the nonprofit that dropped me, I told them that I have my 501c3 now, but I still need a funnel to be able to accept donations electronically. And that's the second thing that they did was they helped nonprofits be able to do that, you know, without getting credit card service. So they took me back and took me back as a client for free.
Wow.
And grandfathered me in. So all that bad that happened, the good that came from that bad wouldn't have happened. And to me, that's just God at his best.
Yes, I call that, well, exactly what you describe. I say that's what faith is, right? And I think to me, faith is a lot of like that attitude, right? Like the attitude when bad things happen, what's your attitude going to be? Is that the thing that's going to put you down, or is that the thing that it's going to ignite the next step, or even just be open to the possibilities of the good that can come out of the bad? And I think, I mean, one is props, man, because I totally think you're exercising faith when you do that, and that's amazing. And I think that's why people are now vouching for you and for you know, Kids Give to Kids and saying, how can I help? You know, and I heard this woman at the fundraiser said something like, Dan, like, we are behind you. You know, you have our support. You have the story. You have the background. You have the mission. You have the vision. No, basically, she was saying, here's our money, right? We're behind this. And I mean, the story is incredible. You even talk about like this other moment when you said you were in your car and you were doing like Postmates or something like that, right? Like delivering food. And then you're thinking, okay, my car is my source of income and my car is where I live. And you got into an accident and lost the two at the same time.
So it's where I was going to live. So I don't know. I think people that find their true purpose in this world, they're unstoppable. Once they truly find their true purpose, okay, there's a difference between purpose and passion, okay? Purpose is, it's undeniable. You're the only person, when you figure out what your purpose is, you're the only person that truly sees it in a way that no one else in the world will. Now, you can help them see the pieces and parts of it, but you know the whole story because it's your purpose that God gave you, okay? That's it. There is no doubt, zero doubt, okay? Like your faith is your strength, your trust is your power, okay?
Intense.
So trust for God. When the bad happens, people think that when bad happens in their life, it's the devil doing it. No. If you have God in your life, God's not going to let the devil do that bad to you. Okay, he's not. You're off limits to him. The devil can't touch you. But sometimes some horrible things happen. And I believe to truly find your purpose and to truly go through a transformation in this world, you have to go through something horrible in your world, in your life. Something has to disrupt your life. And it could be a sibling dying. It could be a child dying. It could be a child getting sick. It could be a divorce. It could be whatever it is. Until you go through that, you're not going to want to change. You're not going to want to transform. You're not going to have that ha-ha moment where you find out what your purpose is in this world. But once you do, there's nothing in the world that's going to stop you. So with that said, I thought to myself, okay, I have no money coming in. I'm barely making enough money for rent. My roommate says that she's, moving out of state because she's, going to be, she's going to be getting married. And so I thought to myself, okay, I don't have an app yet. I know it's being built, but I don't have it yet. I know that my purpose is on track because I have the story, I have the background, and I have the vision, right? Like you said. So I said, okay, I'm going to live in my car. I'm going to document it. I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to get a health club membership, and I'm going to drive DoorDash and make a living and eat food and promote this purpose in my world. And this is where I say God has a sense of humor, okay? Because in my life, God has a sense of humor. But the reason I say this is because I believe God gives you free will. God will let you do what you want to do, and he'll let you go full-blown into it. But he's going to be at a point saying, okay, you're just too far off your path. This is just too far. And so 5 days from me literally going to be living in my car, got the storage unit where my clothes are. I mean, I got everything other than the fact that I still have a place to take a shower and a place to sleep for 5 more days. And I'm driving down, the street at about 55 miles per hour. And this gentleman just makes a left right in front of me. And I go head-on collision with him. I take the whole front end of his car off. My whole front end is bashed into basically, the whole half of my front end's gone. And I just break down. Now, here's the reality of this. The reality is I should have broken bones. The gentleman that I hit should have broken bones. We should be having ambulances coming and picking us up right now. I have DoorDash food all over the floor. I was literally on a delivery. And I get out of my car crying, going, what is happening? This is my home. I just demolished my home. I have maybe $100 in my pocket. I have nowhere to go. What's going on? That's pretty bad. That's bad. That's pretty bad. And so I had my friend come and pick me up. Took him a few hours before he did. And it's funny because you probably remember him standing up and he said, and I got into an accident on the freeway as I was going to pick him up. It wasn't as bad as his, but I got into a fender bender. And anyways, so the good from that bad is this. When you have faith and when you have God in your life, one of my simplest prayers every day on multiple times a day is, God, I love you. Please guide me. God, I love you. Please guide me. That's it. When you have the faith and you have the trust, you let him guide you. But you have to be open to what he's doing for you. You have to be open to it. You have to understand that, Daniel, I love you. You're my son. You're not living in your car. It's not going to happen. So I ended up calling a friend of mine that owns the Agape Wellness Center, and I heard Sandra talk about that. But bottom line is I called him up. I said, listen, I just got in a car accident. My car's ruined. It's done. I have no place to live. I have no money. I'm out on the street in 5 days. And he goes, all right, this is going to take a year. I go, I don't have a year. He goes, all right, what will it take? I go, I need $4,000. I need $4,000. I need to find a place to live. I need a new car. Not only was he able to call me back, he had the lawyer spot me the $4,000. But here's the reality of that. I got a better car than I had. Okay. I was able to drive Uber for 2 years and do R&D. I don't know if you know what R&D is, but it's when you talk about a business, and you find out, and you find out what people think about it, and so for 2 years, I'm just talking to complete strangers about my program, and it changed so much by doing that because they're giving me. You're getting
input for free.
I mean, when I first did it, I wasn't going to do new toys. I was only going to do used toys, and then the new toy idea came when I was talking to these people.
Wow. And
what bottom line is, God changed everything for me. That car that I was driving was like an '89. It was so old, and I got $5,500 for it, which is impossible when I bought it for $500. I got an additional $300. God made sure that I didn't hurt anybody because he knew I wouldn't be able to live with that if I hurt somebody, even if it was my fault or not. Yeah. He basically got a scratch on my finger. That was the only thing that really happened to me. God is the most amazing aspect of anybody's life as long as they let them in their life, and as long as they trust him, and as long as they have faith that he can do what he's going to do and say what he's going to say. So that's just another story on how God works in my life.
Wow. Epic, man. It's unbelievable and so inspirational, I would say. It was inspirational for me and my wife. Like you said, we were even at the fundraiser and we were laughing, we were crying because some of the stories are, there's nothing else to do but cry. When you were saying, I mean, so many stories. We're not going to get into all of them. But at the same time, the inspiration, because one, you're a funny guy. And I love how you said, once you know your purpose, it's almost like it made you unstoppable and unapologetic. And I could witness that on that event. I saw you, even with your dog, right? Like right now, your dog's here. Your dog was that day at the fundraiser. I was like, who takes their dog to a fundraiser for their own event? You do. Because that's not on your, that doesn't matter. Right? You're there for a reason. You have a purpose, and you're unapologetic about what that is. And what an inspiration and an invitation to anyone listening or even watching. I think we're still recording. Yeah. So to find what our purpose is, like the one thing that we are uniquely designed to do in this world, like the one thing nobody else in this world can do but me, right? So that's my takeaway for today's conversation. It's amazing, and I'll take it to heart. I think we need more empathy. We need more sympathy. We need more We need to find our purpose. We need faith to conquer circumstances, and we need to see, I mean, once you have those, you'll be able to see the good that can come out of any bad, right? Whatever it might be. And I guess my prayer for people that are listening is that maybe even in the hardship of, I don't know if things that they have experienced in life or things they have experienced maybe through a hard season after COVID and anxiety, depression, like all these things that we have witnessed in the past few years just as a society and as a world, is don't give up, right? Don't give up. There's purpose, there's hope. So what would be your final words, your invitation to people listening, whether it's to support? Man, when I look at even the website, I'm like, there's a lot still to work with, but I love that you are pursuing it and people are coming and saying, how can I help? Here's my money even, because I think that you're even unapologetic about that. I want your money, we need your money. So I love that. So where do you want to point people to? What's your final words of invitation?
I think the biggest thing is education. We have an opportunity to teach every kid to possibly become a giver. And we also have the opportunity to let every kid feel like a kid and give them that opportunity to give them choice. So the two things I would love to take away from this podcast is, one, every kid having the choice to choose a brand new toy or a used toy, and the kid having the choice to be able to put their used toy up or a brand new toy up for another kid to choose, and for them to see that process. And if anybody wants to email me, Daniel@kidsgivetokids.net, or go on the website and sign up, I'm here for you. I'll listen to you, I'll talk to you, and I would love as much help as I can get just by educating others.
Love it. Dan, this is what I do on the show typically. I go through emojis. I have 5 emojis that go from blasphemous to divine. But in this case, I feel like, man, your story is so epic. We're just on the divine emoji. Like all throughout the episode, I feel like this is just divine emoji. And I want to give you a little divine pin. Here it is. It's just a sign of hope. And I mean, I love your story, man. So, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this conversation, the inspiration. And I continue to pray that more open doors will come and that you just have to walk through them, right? So, thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless everybody.